there, it's Sandee Sgarlata. Get ready to dive deep into incredible stories of people who've taken life's challenges and turned them into a roadmap to happiness. On this show, we're not just talking about overcoming obstacles. We're uncovering the real, gritty secrets to living a life filled with peace, joy, and genuine happiness. This is Happiness Solved. So let's get started, because happiness is a choice, and the choice is yours. Darryll, such a pleasure to be seeing you today. How's everything going?
Man, better now.
Yeah, technology. And you know what? It may not even end up being like that, because sometimes it gets a little fuzzy, so let's not worry about that. But for the audience, Darryll Stinson is a co-founder of Seeding Greatness, a movement of leaders restoring the planet and helping humanity to heal through their stories and transformational services. I love that, because that's what this podcast is all about, is healing through stories and all of that. So I know, you've got great accolades. You're a former Division I athlete. Your accolades includes top 100 athlete in 2008, award-winning higher ed communications professional, number 9 suicide awareness speaker in 2023, and TEDx organizer from 2022 on, which attests to the impact of your work. I love that. Great stories. I'm sure that you have. And I'd love to hear the backstory, because sure, people are kind of like, who is this guy? So tell us I want to go back to college, even before that. What was going on with you? Because I know in your bio, you say that you overcame multiple suicide attempts.
I did.
And then now you're a best-selling author. So tell us about that, Darryll. Yikes.
It's interesting because at the time of this recording, it's September, which is Suicide Prevention Month.
That's right.
That's not, I'm so far from that way of thinking about myself.
Okay.
That it's hard to go back and be like, where was I in the midst of it all?
Right.
Where was I when I didn't have the desire to want to live anymore?
Yeah.
And a lot of it stemmed because growing up, I was, raised to believe that my emotions were not safe to express. My family members would call me a crybaby. I would be, spanked and told if I cried too hard that I would be given something to cry about. And it caused me to kind of suppress these emotions, because every time I expressed them, it equaled punishment or mockery or embarrassment. You take that into, me being a Division I athlete, and that athletes are not supposed to, display weakness or show vulnerabilities, or else they'll be exploited.
Yeah, no crying in baseball, right?
Exactly. They say don't ever let them see you sweat.
Yeah.
And that mentality of not wanting people to see me sweat or struggle or have pain or weaknesses led to a life of suppression, where I wasn't authentically being myself.
Yeah.
I wasn't connecting with how I was really feeling. And I didn't notice how much I was suppressing because I played so much sports. It's like, you get a good workout in, you just forget about whatever you're worried about. Yeah. I tell people all the time that it's hard to be depressed and out of breath at the same time. So it's hard to be depressed and out of breath at the same time. And because it's hard to be depressed and out of breath at the same time, we should use that for our advantage, and obviously take runs when we're overwhelmed, go on long walks, get a sweat in, get in some sun, but also be mindful that we're not bypassing our emotions and always just staying busy or working out or sweating out, and never actually getting emotionally clear on what's bothering us and what the real emotions that we're feeling are, and what the real thoughts that are going through our head are. And so, as a high level athlete, I could get away with not having a good quality of life because people respected that I won on the field. and that I performed well. And that's true for any level of success. Like sometimes people, I heard one of my friends say, sometimes you got to check in on your strong friends too,
That's
because
right.
we get so used to people like you always persevering, always pouring into other people. And we just think like, okay, like they must be good in their life. When in reality, their life could have the same challenges that they help other people through. And so for me, I didn't talk about the fact that I was depressed, didn't know who I was outside of sports. That was the only way I got attention and gained love and acceptance. I didn't talk, I didn't know. I have the language now. I didn't even have the language then because I just
Right.
didn't want to feel it to have the language.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you ever have something hurt so bad that you didn't want to talk about it?
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. I mean, you and I have very similar, you know, stories in the sense of, I too I wasn't punished for showing my emotions. I was just told to smile and that everything would be okay.
Mm,
And what happened with me, while I never attempted suicide, I abused cocaine. And Darryll,
mm,
I remember laying in bed at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, so high on cocaine, my
mm,
heart was just racing, and I would just pray that I wouldn't wake up.
mm,
I just didn't want to wake up. And I
mm.
remember my mother, I was raised Catholic. You always have to ask for forgiveness of your sins. And I remember laying there asking for forgiveness of my sins because I didn't think I was going to wake up and I didn't want to wake up. So
Mm.
I do get a little bit of that, of what you must have been going through. Yeah.
A lot
Yeah.
of it. And it doesn't matter. Any emotion that's overwhelming to a person can be very traumatic and hard. And, a lot of people say, like, a lot of people, and again, this whole thing isn't about surviving suicide, but, there's a lot of highly successful people who commit
Yeah.
suicide. And a lot of people would look at their problems and be like, what are they complaining about? Like, there's people who don't have running water. There's people who don't have, food to eat. And like, what is it that they have to feel sad about? So it's not like that the pain has to be justified. It's not even that the pain has to be perceived to be something extreme by other people. All that matters is if you're in pain, you're in pain.
And pain comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. And what's painful for me may not be painful for the next person.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
we know you never know what that person's going through,
Never
right?
know.
The person that cut you off in traffic,
Yep.
or the person that was rude to you, instead of being reactive, right? Because we have a choice as to how we react.
Right.
Instead, geez, they must be having a really bad day. Let me just send them some grace.
Something.
And right.
Something. Something.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was the turning point for you to help you reach a point where you didn't feel that, like, because from what I understand, is I've talked to people that have been unsuccessful in their
Yep.
suicide attempts, and I've
Yep.
talked to parents who've lost children,
Yep.
and it's very hard for
Hmm.
people to really grasp their head around that, right?
Right.
So what was the turning point for you to help you to reach a point where you had that desire to live and
It's a
to
good
want to
question.
continue?
It's a good question. Um,
Yeah.
they, I've heard people say that I think it was maybe C.S. Lewis that said at the end of man is the beginnings of God.
Right.
And I just had to hit rock bottom. I just had to come to the end of myself.
Yeah.
I was fighting against something that was obviously loosening its grip in my life. My career was clearly like I was physically unable to play, and I wasn't okay with facing that reality. I wasn't okay with facing life's on life's terms. I wanted the circumstances of life to be different. And I held on for 2 years. with all of me, like opioids and epidural injections in my back, nerve killings, acupuncture, physical therapy, electrical stim. Like, I'm doing everything to numb that pain so I can continue to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
And life was trying to say, God was trying to say, like, Darryll, there's a different path.
Right.
And so I believe it was Michael Beckwith that says sometimes pain has to push you until the vision pulls you.
Right.
And pain pushed me to change. So after my last failed attempt at suicide in a Dodge Stratus, I was, hospitalized in Detroit, Michigan, in a psychiatric care facility by choice. My mother admitted me in there. And man, I found faith. I saw my first psychiatrist. I did my first journal entry. And I actually sat with the emotions that I was avoiding and suppressing and numbing with all this medication just so I couldn't feel rejected, alone, insecure. And once I started to actually sit with my feelings, it was almost like they were doorways into direction that I was looking for all along.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, here we go. I'm afraid to look at this. All right, I'm looking at it. Who am I outside of sports? I'll let it go. What else is there for me to do? Not that I'll be successful. I know I can be successful, but what's going to fulfill me? And I let it go. And because I held on and it kept not working, I just said, let me try something else. And I literally had and this is where people go wrong a lot. Some people think that at a moment like this, you have to have 100% clarity in order to head in a direction. Like, they're like, oh, I want to find my purpose. And once I get clear on that, then I'll launch the book, start the website, go back to school, whatever it is for the particular individual. And then they're just, waiting, never actually going for it. And I think if people actually gave themselves permission to not be 100% clear, but I don't know, 15%, 20%, 30%, 40% clear, 50%, I could be right, I could be wrong. So I went back and took undergraduate public speaking courses. And because I was following this, I don't know, 30 to 60% of a nudge that I was supposed to be sharing my story. And I was deathly afraid. Hated it. Didn't want to talk in front of people. I led by example is what I told people. And I did. But it was also a way to cop out of being emotionally in touch. And so sharing my story not only helped me to impact the lives of other people and find that new path for me, it completely healed me, transformed my life, because I was opening up and sharing stories that I held a great amount of shame about, that I was telling people stuff that I didn't want anybody to know that happened to me. I was sharing thoughts that I didn't want people to know that I was thinking. And because I let it out and was willing to put it out there regardless of what people thought, man, I got free from it. I wasn't caged and suppressed and timid because deep down I was worried somebody was going to find out that I had these thoughts, these feelings, these insecurities. It was all out there. And I could lead and be free to be me.
Yeah.
So I had to break down to break through. I had to set back to come back. And I had to choose to follow small nudges, even though I wasn't 100% clear on if this was the ultimate true north of my life.
Yeah. Wow. You just dropped so many golden nuggets there.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I was thinking about is, part of the problem is that in order to grow, you have to be uncomfortable. And that's what the pain is.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to sit in the pain. I know that was my thing.
Right.
And just really feeling that pain. because in order to grow, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I think I say that every single podcast interview I do. But it's true.
Common sense isn't common practice. Just because it's simple doesn't mean that it's easy.
Right.
Okay.
And then you were also talking about just getting it out there. And I had to go into, when I hit my rock bottom with cocaine abuse, I had to go to 12-step programs. And I'll never forget one of the things that they said: we're only as sick as our secrets.
Yep.
And when you're keeping all of that inside,
Yep.
just telling another person is freeing. You're like, wow.
Yeah.
I don't have to keep it in here. And so I know for me to this day, and that was 35 years ago, it'll be 35 years in January. Like to this day, if I'm holding something in that I don't want to share, I find somebody I feel safe with. And I'm like, I just got to get this off my chest.
Right.
And it is the most freeing thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
And it helps to have that other person, but it also helps to talk it out loud.
Yeah.
Like I do walk and talks all the time. And, people will hear me out loud talking to myself. Hopefully they think I'm praying. And sometimes I am, but sometimes I'm just talking to me.
Yeah.
And that level of expression gets it out of my head, out of my mind, out of my inner turmoil, and it gets it into actually, I'm clear. I call it like emotional accounting.
Yeah.
So, when you do financial accounting, that you can't have too much in the miscellaneous category.
Right.
Because if you have too much in the miscellaneous category, you won't actually be able to get clear enough to know how you can make improvements to your budget. Does that make sense?
That's right. Yeah.
So you don't know how to make improvements to your budget because you're not clear. It's like too much in the miscellaneous. Did I spend too much on food, or was it too much on gas, or was it too much on groceries? Did I have too much entertainment? Did I buy too many courses? Did I subscribe to many things? Like, I don't know, because it's all in miscellaneous.
Right.
And most people manage their emotions like they manage their finances. They have everything in the miscellaneous category. And that's why the most common answer, every time you ask someone how they're doing, the most common answer, you know what it is? What is it for you?
I'm good.
Fine.
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm good.
I'm good. How are you? Right. Take it off me. Because if you ask me 2 more questions, I might bust. But how are you doing? Let me put it back on you before we ask how I'm really doing. And that's right there.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just, we got to get used to being okay expressing our emotions, man. It's not that big of a deal. Like, I'm finna get vulnerable. I'm about to cry. Like, we don't have to apologize. Like, emotions are a normal part of our experience. Like, imagine every time my 2-year-old son was getting ready to cry, he was like, hold on, Dad. Hold on. I'm so sorry. But somewhere we grew up and was taught that it wasn't safe to, communicate our emotions. And then here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah.
So
well, what always drives me bonkers is that, finances and your emotions, right? People don't pay attention to them. What you were talking about is just paying attention to it. And the thing is yes, it's very easy to make the right choices. It's just not simple. Right. And I mean, at the end of the day, you talk to guys, okay, how many times are you practicing your golf swing? Right.
Exactly.
They'll get out there and they'll practice that. They'll pay attention to that. I just interviewed somebody and she was talking about our phones. We pay so much attention to our phone. Like, it is like the most precious thing. And I loved it before we started recording. You're like, oh, let me make sure my phone. Oh, where is my phone? Oh, I don't know. And you're like, I don't care. Like, most people would be like, okay, hold on. I got to make sure my phone's near me first.
I know.
Right? Even though you're not going to be using it while you're in this interview, we pay so much attention to so many things, except for the things that really matters the most. And that's the space between our ears.
Yes.
Right? Yep. It's a practice. It's a practice.
It
right?
is. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Let's get back to sports. because as I mentioned, I'm probably going to use some clips for my TV show that's being launched, Peak Performance Playbook. Stay tuned, everybody. It's coming. It's in the works. It's in production. All right. Suicide is a big problem in sports. It's a big problem in everywhere. But as you mentioned, and you were talking about it, and you said it so beautifully, Darryll, that, when you're this strong athlete and you're at the top of your game, people think, oh, you must be doing okay. Right. And then, the one story that really stands out is there was an Australian athlete. I don't recall her name, unfortunately, but she didn't qualify for the Summer Olympics.
Mm.
This was the last, not the most recent one, the last Olympics. And she killed herself and was successful at it.
Wow.
Because she didn't qualify for the Olympics. So
Wow.
what is it?
Wow.
Because there, yes, we all have our vulnerabilities and weaknesses, but what is it about sports? Because when you get to be an elite athlete, because I'm a former elite athlete as well, we think differently. There's a different, pushing yourself, from very young ages, for me, it was on the ice. I would skate 8 days a week if there was an eighth day, right? Like we're obsessed and we're a little cray cray when it comes to that. Do you think that there's a difference there of why people as an elite athlete can have these great highs and then have those, it's almost like bipolar, but it's not, right? But do you have any insight on that?
Totally. So one thing is most people don't know what it's like outside of athletics to really push yourself past your edge. You don't hurt as much when you fail if you didn't try as hard as you could.
Right.
I'm going to say that again. You don't hurt as much when you fail if you didn't try as hard as you could. So if I try 50% effort and I don't succeed, I'm like, oh, well, I didn't really try my hardest. But when I give everything I got, and I've been training for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, for one race, for one fight, for one competition, and I fail, that sucks.
Totally. It's the worst.
That sucks. And you have such a relationship with yourself when you do things that are hard physically. Because in order to persevere through something that's challenging physically, like sports, or anything challenging. I know a friend that's doing a mountain climbing thing right now. And same thing, when you push yourself physically, it puts your psychology on 4K.
Yeah.
Because you get to see how you respond to pressure. You don't know what's in an orange till you squeeze it.
Right.
That type of thing. So when people lose sports, when people transition, when they don't have that, it's not always just that they can't compete. Sometimes it's that they can't compete at the level that they once did. It feels like failure. It feels like I'm less than what I've saw myself of capable of being and experienced myself of being. It feels like I've worked so hard at something that now I have to never get to taste and see what that feels like again. Like if sports is one of the only career that you decline as you go, right? So you get older and better, right? But it's like if I was a 20-year professional as a writer, I'm going to just get, paid more and more and, I'm worth more.
Right.
And that's not true in sports. It's like you're declining asset. You're like a car that just drove off the lot.
Oh.
And that hurts to face life that way. But there's nothing like it. There's nothing like tasting and experiencing what you're like when you say, I can't, I don't know how, if I'll ever be able to lift that weight, run that time, climb that mountain, finish that marathon, and you do it. The sense of accomplishment that you experience, the level of like self belief that you have in yourself because you've done something hard physically that you had to persevere through, that in all areas of life where it's difficult to have a conversation at work, where it is hard to resolve a conflict with spouse, where it is difficult to make a decision, where it is hard to go for a dream. Now, because you've conquered something physically challenging, you can do something relationally challenging or socially challenging or financially challenging, because the center, the common factor in all of those things is you.
Beautifully said.
Does that make sense?
Totally. Totally, totally, totally. What
So I hope it
advice?
sounded good, even if it didn't look good.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Oh,
So
I've been trying to change my camera this whole time and it won't let me in the middle of the recording. I'm so mad. I was like, I had a
it's
backup option, but it won't let me switch.
it's okay.
It's
It's
all
all
good.
good. So what advice would you give for an athlete, even an up and coming athlete?
Yeah.
What do
Read
they
my
need to be
book.
doing? Yeah,
Go
read
read
your
my
book.
book. Who am I after sports?
Who am I after
An athlete's
sports?
roadmap to discover new purpose and live fulfilled. The 5 phases of transition: accept, discover, pursue, persist. Accept, discover, pursue, persist. Did I miss one? Accept,
Accept,
discover,
discover,
pursue,
pursue,
persist. What am I
persist.
missing? I'm missing one. Oh, accept, believe, discover, pursue, persist. That's what it is.
There you go.
Accept,
Love that.
believe, discover, pursue, persist. I was missing one. Okay. So that, and again, there's a lot in that, not just for, former athletes or transitioning athletes, but also for current athletes, because a lot of the pain that former athletes struggle with is because the way that they showed up while they were an athlete. Like they didn't prepare, they didn't actually give their all, so now they have regret. They didn't achieve what they wanted. So the more that you can have success and congruency in sports, the easier it will be to transition when you enter into a new season. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I mean it's tough. And nowadays, because in my work that I'm doing for the television show, I've been interviewing some young athletes, and these are like international level tennis competitors. Okay, and they all already have, because of where they're training, which is great. They already have access to a sports psychologist, which is great. At what age do you think kids, that, because usually by the age of 10, right?
Birth.
You kind of know with kids, like, okay, they're gonna stick with basketball, or they're gonna do gymnastics, or whatever. At what age do you think it's important for parents to start introducing these concepts of, the positivity, visualization, talking
Birth.
about your feelings, all of that
Birth.
at birth?
Sports is what you do, it's not who you are.
Right.
Visualization is a practice that's good for life, not just for performance in sport. My
Right.
daughters, man, the youngest one is she's 6 now, but she's been meditating since she was like 4 or 5,
Wow. And that's your influence, I'm sure.
and she's probably the most athletic naturally. She's got the Stinson genes. Like
Yay.
she got the we've got people in our family that have went to the Olympics, and my dad would have been one of the best if he didn't get hurt, blah 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 blah. And so like she's got the genes, and she's already like meditating. I don't think she's visualizing stuff yet. Like it's not like I want to go for it. She still has that innocent child, like I just love playing, and I'm
Yeah.
not trying to force that onto her.
Yeah.
I think that just, I don't think it's an age thing. I think it's like the moment someone light clicks on.
Yeah.
And the moment
Yeah.
they go, I want something, like, so for instance, our oldest daughter, we could see in her how much she was like me, and we're like, man, she's gonna speak. Like, she's a speaker, she's a leader. Like, we can just see it. It was so obvious. And she always kind of got these leadership roles and things like that. And we played around with her, like speaking with me, like come in, like just, and it just wasn't, it just kind of felt a little forced. And so we never forced it. I don't know how long ago this was, a couple months ago. She comes to me. She's like, hey, daddy, I told you like a couple times I was ready to work in the business. Like, can I edit videos? Like what can I do? Like she's ready for something, to go for something. She's looking for freedom that she doesn't know how to access, and just sees dad is doing something different, so I
Yeah.
can join in on what he's doing. So that is a good example of like, hey, when someone's ready, like they choose it, as long as you're constantly in the awareness and stewarding of their gifts. So there was some, let's put her in, Girl Scouts, let's put her in extracurriculars, because we can see innately she needs to develop this leadership potential.
Right.
Okay. But I think these things are life principles, ways of having success in all areas, not just sports. So I don't think it's when I hit 10th grade or when I hit varsity sports or anything like
Right.
that. I think it's when my light goes on, and it's a lot of how I'm raised since birth in more of a holistic manner.
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
So you've got 4 kids, and it looks like from their names, you've got 3 daughters and 1 boy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What type of parent are you? I'm just curious. Are
I'm
you
crazy.
are you the dad that stands there and is juror, or you just kind of
Yeah.
sit back and just let
Both.
them both?
I'm the weirdest guy ever, probably. I'm the probably most difficult person. I'm not a typical guy. I'm unpredictable. I'm unorthodox. I don't fit in. The first day of school, my daughter was like, this was the first year where she didn't want me to walk her into her classroom. It hurt my feelings.
Oh, isn't that
I
hard?
know. I was
Oh,
like, cause I was naive enough to believe that it was never gonna happen to me. I was like, oh no, I'll be cool with that forever. No, it's over at age 10. And
well,
then because the other ones respect her, they all, so I don't even get to, they turn 10. They all are like, no.
of
Because I'll
course.
come in, I'll be like, yeah, what's up? Yo. And then I'll break the rules. They're like, sign seating. I'm like, why can't we sit here? I want to be by the window. I don't like that her desk is facing the wall. Why is your curriculum like that? No, I'm not like that. I'm not that bad. But
The
my point
teacher's like,
is like
Mr. Stinson
I'm
out.
loud, I'm noticeable, I draw attention, and then I say things that I probably shouldn't say. Not
Yeah.
inappropriate, but like, just I don't know. You have like, can I have the snacks that belong to the kids, as an example?
No, those are for the children.
Oh no, I always grab a sucker every time.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we've talked about a lot of different things. What's next for you?
It's more of the same, but just with the right people and deeper and better as I grow and evolve, helping the people to grow their business by sharing their story. I believe that everyone has a story to share, and that when we refuse to share our story, someone is suffering in silence.
Yep.
And let me get more specific. Someone is suffering from the pain we were once in silence. And so, in order to be the help that we wish we had, or to, what do you call it when you continue to do the things that were done for you? Reciprocate?
Yes.
What's that called? Is it
Yeah.
reciprocate?
Yeah. Reciprocate.
When
That's a
you
good word.
reciprocate, like, people who poured into you, when you reciprocate that and pour into other people, that's what this is about. And I'm about helping people to do that. People who
Yeah.
have coaching businesses, organizations that are doing great work in the world, and they want to gain more leads, more exposure, more traction. They want to impact more people. and do it in a way that their business has the economics to do so. That's what I'm about. And so, man, we, help people do TEDx talks. We run events every 4 to 6 weeks in our backyard. We do networking events. Like, there's tons of stuff you can tap into.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience that we haven't talked about?
I think just because I'm in the middle of I'm doing a challenge called the Get Book Challenge, where I'm literally just going live every single day with a private community, showing them exactly what I'm doing to triple my business for 2025, because it starts today. January
right.
1 starts September 1st, right? And so, I don't want to start my New Year's resolution on January 1. I want to like be in full swing momentum on January 1. And so the seeds start now. And so I'm literally going live every day for the next 30 to 60 days and showing people exactly what I'm doing to make that happen. Here's the exact message I'm sending. Here's the exact, one sheet I'm sending people. Here's the conversations and the quotes and the negotiations, because I feel like I do a lot of abstract and transformational coaching, that sometimes it's good to just be all tactical and just go ham for a little bit. And so I think that opportunity exists for everybody, wherever their discipline is, whatever their goals are. If you could just get focused and go through, like, treat today or tomorrow like it's January 1,
Right.
and then say, like, hey, next 90 days, I'm going to every single day move this thing forward. I think people drastically underestimate what happens when you compound consistency.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they say just even with athletes, because some of the athletes that I work with on their mindset, it's like just every week, just want to get 1% better, 1% better every week. That's it.
Yes.
Because it compounds.
Well, there's 1% better, and then there's like, hey, I want a quantum leap.
Right.
So I'm down for 1% better as a principal. Like, I'm always learning, always going, always being coached. And then there's times where I need a quantum leap. I need to go from 100K to 500K in business. I need to go from, couple hundred followers to 10,000, 100,000 followers. Like I need a quantum leap, and that requires a consistent application execution. Okay. And not just execution blindly, with reflection, with coaching. Man, like, athletes understand the power of a coach. And I think there's still a mentality right now that people are like, oh, I hate the coaching industry. It's a coach coaching a coach, coaching a coach, coaching a coach. I'm like, duh. I got like 6 coaches.
Yeah.
Because I understand the value of somebody seeing in me what I can't see in myself, and having accountability and having blind spots. And it's just like, I've been doing it. I had a position coach, an offensive line coach, a head coach, a special teams coach. And so it was just like, I was used to having multiple coaches around me, the coach coaching the coach coaching the coach. And I was coaching my players, and the seniors were coaching the juniors, and the juniors were coaching the freshmen. So, like, a coach has a coach has a coach has a coach. That's how we grow and accelerate the process. That's what makes our potential as humanity boundless.
Love it.
So I just want to instill that fire in somebody who thinks that because they've been procrastinating, that now they have to wait a year, 2, 3, just to see their dreams become a reality. You can quantum leap it, 90 days, consistent every single day, reflection, coaching, accountability.
That's
And
right.
so that's what I'm doing for my community right now.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love your energy.
I know.
What a great story. And this has been just such an amazing conversation. And I thank you so much, Darryll, for the work that you're doing. And thank you for just having that wherewithal to be authentic.
Thank you.
And help other people to learn how to be authentic and share their stories, because it really is how people grow and how we're going to change the world, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so
Oh,
much
good.
for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you and your family are happy and healthy and that your lives are filled with peace and joy. Take care, everyone.